purpose of life is living. I believe that we are designed genetically to, as an organism, to flourish, to live fully, to thrive. And look at any entity, whether it's a virus or a plant or an animal or a person, the purpose of that living entity on a genetic basis is to live. Okay, to live how? Well, it's got humans have all kinds of ways of living. Physical ways, emotional ways, interpersonal, and so forth. So we're capable of so much. I believe it's my job to live. Well, if I'm going to live well, I've got to learn. In other words, I've got to be intentional in managing my life in a smart way to include learning in every day in whatever ways I can. In every new situation, I need to be noticing more and paying attention and then reflecting on it. A friend of mine, Kevin Buck, who's a philosopher, he says, without reflection, there's no true learning. So we need to notice more than we're used to noticing. And then we need to reflect on what we noticed so that we take the knowledge from the desktop and let it get into the filing system. Because what you know in the back of your mind may be valuable someday, but only when you can get it back to the desktop at the time you need it, the front of your consciousness. So it's about reflecting, what does that mean? How does this relate to other things? How can I use that in the future? Lifelong, well, you should only learn as long as you intend to be good at something. I think we need to be good at every aspect of life: nutrition, health, fitness, relationships, business, etc., finances. And there's so much more to know than we could ever know, ever. And I find that the older I get, the more curious I become, because I find out how much more there is that I didn't realize. That's the thing. When you're around, I don't know, in your 20s or early 30s, you kind of get to the point where you're saying, dude, I got this. I have figured it out. Now all I need to do is get everybody else in the world to understand what I'm going to bring them and tell them. I've found, I've been there in the past, but I've found there's so much more to learn. And humility is a wonderful quality to bring to the learning, to be willing to learn from every person. I think it was Emerson, Ralph Waldo Emerson, who said, every person in some way is my superior, and in that I can learn from them. I'm pretty good in certain areas, but there are other areas where I'm just a beginner. For example, several years ago, I picked up my guitar again and I started playing and singing in clubs and at parties. And I got some offers to do it professionally, and so I did. And I started playing and singing professionally in nightclubs and wine bars and, special events, art festivals, things like that. And now I do that typically about once a month with my wife and with other friends. And what I found is in that field, I'm a neophyte. I'm new kid on the block. In the field of professional speaking and training, I've earned every award they offer. I've held the highest positions, been inducted in the Hall of Fame, things like that. And that's wonderful. Yay for me. And I've written 18 books. But hey, in that category, I'm just competent. I'm not a master. I can do it. I can entertain people, have a great time. But sit me down next to a professional musician who really knows their stuff, and I am at minimum wage, right? And by the way, I might get a nice, respectable speaking fee when I go lecture at a conference somewhere, but when I go out to play a music gig, I'm buying maybe dinner for two afterwards off of the fee I got. So I think what I've learned is humility.